Stampers, it's Linda Schmidt with Stampin' with the Hounds. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for joining me today. I am doing in my Fun Fold series right now variations, cards that kind of have some move and action. I'm kind of going back to what I had done previously with a Z Fold series, because this one I feel like it's kind of a basis of a Z Fold, but we're adding this diamond that flips. So I'm calling this the Z Fold Diamond Flip card. And there's been other variations that people have called this, but basically if you kind of query on diamond flip, it'll pull up and stuff. But I'm going to add it to that Z Fold so that I can plug it in to my Z Fold Fun Fold series. So if you haven't seen some of those other ones, make sure you check those out. I'll put a link down in the description for them, because I take a fold and then I show you a bunch of different ways of how to use that fold. And so there's a variety of ones. I've done bookbinding, I've done the Z fold, gate fold, cards that kind of explode or have movement and stuff. So make sure you check those out, and then make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you are notified of when I upload my tutorials, because I am going to be going on vacation here for the Thanksgiving holiday. So I'm going to be out of the craft room visiting my family. So we're going to get started. So these are some of the cards. I always do like a little sample first when I start using up some like retired cardstock and paper, just so that I can kind of practice it. But this is really, it's a fun fold. So basically you've got the card base, which is, got that Z fold characteristic to it. And then with the diamond flip, you're able to use up, again, scraps of paper, that designer series paper that we all have plenty of. And then there's just different ways you can either, do cardstock that's been kind of texturized. You can use your designer paper. You can do multiple layers. I mean, the ideas are endless on this. So this was one I had done with various trees and then just some retired designer series paper. But the dies are current, as well as this stamp set and saying there. So kind of fun. So that was the first one I had done. And then I do a card class with some friends, and we usually have, it's a pretty big group of ladies that come, and a lot of them, because we have to cut first, we have to make 2 of each card, and so it's always a challenge sometimes to be able to have enough supplies on hand. But I had some of this retired paper, and so this is the card they're going to be doing. And this is, again, that diamond Z fold flip, and I'm using the Sophisticated Sled, which is current. That is, you can find this on our online exclusives on Stampin' Up. And then I had some retired paper. So on this one, I did not decorate the back side of that triangle, but I did do all the other panels. So that's kind of an option. And really on this piece, if you wanted to use one, like quarter sheet of cardstock or quarter sheet of designer series paper, you can certainly do that instead of doing these 2 panels. You can also, if you did that 1 sheet of paper, then do another 3x3 square and stick it here, so that when you go and do your greeting, it won't show through. So that's another way of doing it. I haven't done that yet on my samples, but so this is the one that they're going to be doing. And then of course because this is pretty simple for me, I had to kick it up. So now instead of the stamp set, I did the die, I added some ribbon, and then I added some gems and some of those little snowflake elements. And then on this one, I did decorate the back side of the triangle, of the diamond flap. And then I added some rhinestones on the snowflakes on the inside of it. And so all of that has been decorated. So they're not making this one because I don't have enough supplies for all of them to make it. But that's a stepped up version. And then this is like my simple version of it. So kind of cute, 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 cute. I love this sled. It's so fun. And then the one that we are going to be doing today is featuring new products. Everything is in the holiday catalog for 2024 from Stampin' Up. And this one, we're using the Season of Elegance designer series paper. It's a specialty paper. It's got that really pretty foil. And then we've got the the Festive Glimmer. So there's like this cherry cobbler, like a garden green and a granny apple green glimmer paper. And then we've got the Artful Amaryllis, which is a new stamp set and die. And then I did bring in, and this is in the main catalog, but these are another good essential circle dies to have. It's the Spotlight on Nature. These have been really, really popular. So if you don't have that one, I would say that's like my all-time favorite circle die set. So this is one. Again, then on the Amaryllis, I did all the die cutting, and I did 2 different colors. I did a real red and a cherry cobbler, and then garden green and mossy meadow. And then I did a little bit of vanilla, and then basic beige for that little piece. And then on here, I did that Mercury Gold Vellum, which is in the online exclusives. And then this designer series paper, of course, is in the holiday. And then I did Wild Wheat as my card base. And then on this one, so besides the die cut, that bundle also has the stamp set that you can stamp and then do a 2-step stamping and then die cut that out. And then the saying I did in garden green, and that's from the set as well. So on this one I did, again, I got that panel and then my DSP. And again, you can, like I did on these other ones, you can mix these up. They don't have to be the same. But on this one, I pretty much kept it the same. I just did the gold on the top and then the gold on the bottom down here. So we're going to do a version of this one today. And it's really, it's actually a pretty simple fold once you see the pieces with it, because at first I was like, how is that working? But yeah, it's just kind of glued onto that Z fold panel. So it's kind of fun. So then you can see again that back side on it. All right, so we're going to get our supplies. So your card base, again, we took a full sheet of cardstock and we cut it in half, so 4 1/4 by 11. And then we're going to score on the long side at 2 1/8 and 5 1/2. So this is kind of my little template. And I will do directions for this. If you are in my Facebook, Stampin' with the VIP Houndz, I always upload my measurements and then instructions, because this will be one that my card class will do for a fun fold, and they always get printed directions, and then they do the sample of the card. So again, this is kind of that template that I use, and then I always kind of put all the measurements and stuff for that. I always do this like when I'm prepping, I always have to use some inexpensive cardstock or something just to do my templates. All right, so now for your layers. So we're looking at the DSP. This is what I'm calling the front and the back. I mean, it's on that panel. So it's the front and the back. So you need 2 of those. And again, I'm just using the same designer series paper, but I'm going to have one kind of be this denim and then this other have the foil. So those are going to be 3 1/8 by 4, and that's 2 of them. Then what I'm calling the DSP right, that's this panel here that's on the inside of the card. That one you just need 1, and that's 2 1/8 by 4. And then neutral cardstock, so I just did that as 3 by 4. And then my diamond, and now really on this piece, you can do multiple layers. You're just going to go in, either an 1/8 or a 1/4 inch, depending on how you have it cut. But the base of it, to make that diamond, is a piece of cardstock that is a 3 by 3 square. So that's what becomes your diamond. And then I'm just doing 1 layer. So I went in a 1/4 inch, and it is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And again, if you want to go a narrower border, you can go in by 1/8. You don't have to, or I'm sorry, yeah, the 1/8 instead of the 1/4 inch. And then for the back piece, if you want to decorate the back, this one is smaller. This is going to be a 2 5/8 inch square that you're going to cut diagonally in half. And then those pieces then get glued to the underside. And that's totally optional. I just like to kind of finish off my cards, and again, using up scraps. So that's an optional piece to use that. And I just did vellum just because it was lightweight. And then whatever you want for your focal pieces, again, for that diamond, and that's it. So we're going to start first with the scoring, and then we do have to trim to make that point to make this point. Okay, so we're going to take our card base, and when it's closed, you know, you're just going to measure down, or I guess you can keep it open, but you'll measure down 2 1/8 and make a little mark. And then basically where that first score line was, you're then going to cut diagonally so that these triangles come off and you get your point. And that's how you're getting that. And then the diamond then gets attached to this little Z-fold panel on it. So we're first going to start with the scoring, and then we'll cut as well. I'm just going to use my arm here, make a little room. Okay, so we'll start with the scoring. So again, like normal, you would just fold this in half. So we're going to do that 5 1/2, because that's half of 11. And then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to score at 2 1/8, because this way I want this flap to come back to make my Z fold. And then your card gets folded in half. So again, then that makes that little Z fold. Okay, but now we need to make that mark so that we can cut off. We're going to measure down 2 1/8, and then we're going to cut off these triangles to make our point. So I'm just going to open this up, and I'm just going to, I'll do a pencil. Usually I just do my stylus, but oops, we're going to do it. So folding it flat, we want to, oops, sorry, there we go, unfold it. So we're going to, like I said, you're going to, the card is, this is the back side of it, and I'm going to make a mark, going the wrong way, make a mark at 2 1/8 on the end. So if this is your card, 4 1/4 by 11, on that 4 1/4 inch side, you're going to measure down, oops, can you see it? Right there. 2 1/8 down, and then we are going to cut from that pencil line up to this first score line, like that. So we're going to flip this over. I'm going to shift this over so you can kind of see a little bit better. Okay, so I'm making sure that my score line is in my cutting groove, and then my tick mark that I did as the 2 1/8, all of that is lined up so that you're cutting this triangle off. So that looks good. And then this you can just save and use for another project. Okay, then we're going to rotate it. Now that point is going to be in our cutting blade, and then where this other score line was, that has to be in the cutting groove as well. So just make sure you're aligned. And then I'm just going to erase my pencil mark now. Okay, that looks good, that looks good. And then we just cut that off. And again, these you can just save for another project. All right, so now we have, so this is the back side of the card. Now we've got our point, and we fold our card. So it kind of looks like a little arrow or a little triangle sitting on there. All right, and that, all we have to do now is just assemble. So again, I just kind of make sure I burnish on my score lines. These look all good. All right, and I'm using Pretty Peacock this time for my base. So I'm going to do my diamond first. So we're going to take our pieces, So my diamond was that 3x3 inch piece of cardstock. And now this is going to get, this will be glue, and then you're going to turn this and layer that right on top. So now you have that diamond flip where it flips. Fun. So we're going to go ahead and put adhesive, and I would use a stronger glue. I'm going to use my liquid glue. You could use tear and tape as well, but you want a good strong adhesive just to hold this flap in place. And then this is going to get layered directly on top of that half triangle to make your diamond. But I also want to say my last tutorial I uploaded, I don't know what, it like took off like crazy. So anyway, thanks for everyone who has recently subscribed. I totally appreciate you for subscribing. It's funny how like sometimes like a certain video will just take off and others, you know, don't, and I don't know. It's all that YouTube analytics that, oh yeah, who knows? Okay, so this is 2 3/4. This was that pretty peacock glimmer paper. So again, I just went in 1/4 inch. If you want to do a more narrower border, then this, you would make it go down by 1/8 instead of 1/4 inches. Just make sure all that's on. All right, so now that is attached. Fun. All right, and then because I like to decorate the back side of my diamond, this was that 2 5/8 piece of mercury vellum. I'm going to cut this diagonally in half real quick. So in this, I'm just going to put point to point in my cutting groove. And when I'm cutting from point to point, I actually will start in the middle of my paper so that my blade doesn't catch on those points. All right, now these pieces will get attached to the back side of the diamond. And again, this is optional. You don't have to do this part. But I am all about using up your scraps of designer series paper that everyone has. All right, so this is the inside of the card. I'm just going to layer this behind. And again, I just did that vellum because it's really, it's a thin layer. It doesn't add a lot of bulk or weight. And then we'll do the same thing on the back side. All right, so now our diamond flip is all attached. All right, so now we're going to do one of our designer series paper panels. So again, remember these, I'm going to have 2 of them, and these were 3 1/8 by 4. So I have one is going to go here. So this is the front, and then what I call the back is on the inside of the card, and I'm going to do the other paper, or I may do this. Maybe I might, because I'm doing this on the other side. I've got my flower. Yeah, I think I'll do this on here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and attach this one to the front of the card. Yeah, the Season of Elegance designer series paper. Ugh, I just love this paper. It's so pretty. I've used this quite a bit in a lot of my recent videos that I've done. I did it with my explosion box tutorial that I just did. All right, and then we're going to do the other one. This is now the inside of our card. And I do want this side down. Oh, am I out of adhesive? There we go. Whoops. Okay, then this is going to be, for now, basically the inside of your card where your greeting is. So I did a piece of cardstock that's 3 by 4. And I took from the Amaryllis die. So this is the stamp set that we're going to be using today. And then the die, it is this textured, so it has the stamps or the die cuts that make the actual flower with the die cuts, and then it die cuts out the stamped image. But it also has this little textured border die, and that's what I did on the bottom of my vanilla cardstock. So it's not cutting the cardstock, it's just kind of making those little holes. So it just kind of adds a little bit of pizzazz, I think, to the inside of the card. And again, this Artful Amaryllis, this set, you can really use this year-round. It doesn't have to be just for Christmas. So I kind of, because I just like this set. It's so pretty. All right, so I have my 3 by 4, and then my designer series paper was 2 1/8 by 4. And like I had mentioned before, you can, if you want to just do a whole quarter sheet of cardstock here, which is 4 by 5 1/4, you can totally do that, you know, too. But I'm just going to do the multi-layers. So I like to actually I start with the one on the right, the designer series paper, and I adhere this one down first. And I'm just making sure that I'm getting that 1/4 inch border on the sides and at the top and the bottom. That looks pretty good. And then I want to stamp on this first, just make sure I don't mess up. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our focal point. So we're going to do our flower, and then we'll stamp and do all of that next right now. So let's get, and I've already kind of die cut some of these things just to save on time. All right, so I have so I took from that Spotlight on Nature. I did this in Lost Lagoon, and this one is about 2 1/8 inch wide circle. And I'm going to glue this down. So I'm going to put this down first because it does take a little bit of time just to, because it's going against that glitter paper. So I just want to put this down first to make sure it has time to dry. And then that's going to go right in the center. And then I just take a block, an acrylic block, and I'm just going to set that on here. Whoops, I must have had a little something on my, well, that'll get covered up by the flower. So we're going to set that aside for now, just for that to dry. I already stamped my flower in black, and then I die cut it. But I'm going to do a little bit of, I haven't decided yet. I might do a little bit of ink blending on it or stamping. I haven't decided, because on this one, I'm changing up my flower. So it's going to be, because I'm against that peacock color. So I'm doing Berry Vanilla and Basic Beige. And I was going to put those two together for my flower. So I've already got my little pieces here. So I'm going to start assembling my flower. So the stem I did in Garden Green. The leaves I did in Mossy Meadow. And because on this card, you do need to when you go to put your stem on, you are going to have to trim it because otherwise it'll be too tall for your card. So I just kind of spot checked, and then I'm just going to trim, just take off, you know, 1/2 inch or whatever off of that stem. And then now you can go ahead and just put glue on that bottom part, and then just put this on top of it, just to adhere those two pieces together. Make sure it's holding. There we go. All right. Now, so I was going to be doing, and originally I was going to do some sponging, but when I was kind of playing around with it, I didn't like how it was looking. So I think I'm just going to leave it with just the two-tone cardstock. So again, I've got the basic beige. So this die, it does have 2 different shapes. I don't know if you can see it. So there's this one and this one are the 2 shapes. And then there's 2 that make the other flower. And then this one and this make the little bud. And so I have done the vanilla. I did 1 of each in vanilla, and I did 1 of each in the basic beige. So I'm just going to, and this part on this flower, I'm taking the smaller one that layers on top. I'm going to put the glue on that one. So this is the vanilla one. And that's just going to layer right on top of the basic beige. And then I'm going to take one of the little centers here. I did these in wild wheat. And I'm going to put glue on the back of that. And then that just gets wedged right inside here. Make sure that's all held in place. All right, so there's one flower. And then really for however you want to do your flowers. I tend to keep this one on this little far right one. So I'm just going to put glue. You can do glue dots as well, or dimensionals. But on this one, I'm just going to do some glue. And I'll just attach this flower on. And then my little buds. And then on these 2, let's see here. Let's do like the basic beige on the bottom. Now, I just need to turn that around. There we go. I just had to turn it around. Normally I like this shape on the top part, but I cut it in the wrong color, so we'll just do it this way. All right, and then on this one, I do like to use dimensionals to hold it onto these pieces because I want to have a little bit more dimension. So I'm just going to use our little mini dimensionals. And this one, I tend to keep it on these 2. So I'm just going to put one there. And then we'll put the other one here. And then I do like to take my bone folder, and so I got the flower upside down, and I'm just going to lightly ribbon curl, you know, kind of like how you're curling ribbon. I do the same thing on these petals, just to give them a little bit of shape. And then the little bud ends up going on that top one. But again, it's however you want to do this, really. There's no wrong or right way, I don't think. All right, so then on this last one, I like to keep the more oval piece in the back, and then I put this other one on the top. So again, this is going to be basic beige, and then the very vanilla. And then that little bud is going to be attached then onto this last little stem. And just make sure that's held down. Oops. And I just hold it for a second just to make sure that that glue is being held. All right, so now we've got these tiny little pieces left over. So I have this little doohickey thing is going to go right on the stem. And I did this in the basic beige. And then my other little center, again, I did this in the wild wheat. That's going to go in the center of this flower. Okay, so now our die cut flower is all assembled. So pretty. All right, so now this should be ready to go. I don't know what I got on here. Okay, we'll just strategically place our flower. It should be okay. Yeah, that should work. Now, again, because this is going to be, you know, overhanging a little bit, you want to make sure that you don't put, you know, glue all over that flower. So I just spot check. So I know I'm going to have all of this is going to be glue, and then part of this, and then part of that. So I'll probably end up just putting some dimensionals, or not dimensionals, but glue dots on these other ones. So, but we're going to, for now, we're going to put glue all over basically the stems. And then part of that flower. And then I just kind of position that right at the point on the bottom. And then for these other ones, I think I'm just going to add probably one more dimensional underneath this petal, just to hold that in place a little bit better. Okay, and then that's secure. And then on this little one, I think once that glue is dry, that should hold, but I could just add a little glue dot. I might just add a little glue dot there. There we go. And then this one, because it doesn't always like that glitter paper, I'm just going to put another little glue dot over here. And then another one over here just to hold this in place a little bit better. And I think that should be holding. Okay. And then we're gonna decorate our other flower for the inside. And then I was gonna add a little bit of bling. And I was thinking, these are the new ones. These are in the Holiday Mini. These were the gold textured adhesive dots. So they have a little bit of, I don't know if you can see that, a little bit of glimmer and texture, obviously. So I'm going to put one of these, and then I also have these. And these are in the online exclusive. These are those little loose frosted dots. They don't have adhesive, so you do have to use liquid glue. But I didn't know if I wanted to put some of these on here, but I think I might just use one of these. So I'm just going to grab one of these medium shaped dots. I'm just going to put that right in the center of this flower. And then I'm not going to add any other gems on there. Thinking I might need one more dimensional, just to hold this better. There we go. All right, so that's that. And then for my flower that I'm going to put on how I did this one on the inside, do garden green. So this will be for the stem and the leaves. See how I do. I just die cut this to save on time, but now I have to make sure I stamp in place without going over. There we go. There's that one. And then there's one little, this little stamp. That'll be the same thing in green. I guess it could be a bud. It could be another color, but I'm just going to make it green. And then just to add, because that's going in here, I'm going to stamp my saying first. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet on that. I might just do a little bit of petal pink. All right, so my saying, because I kind of wanted this to look like gold, I'm going to use that wild wheat, and this is on that vanilla piece that was that 3x4. So I'm going to stamp this in wild wheat. And this is one of our in colors. It was so funny because like when that first came out, I was like, oh my God, that color is awful. And I use it all the time now. It really grew on me because at first I was like, oh, I'm never going to use it. But now I use it all the time. It's like a perfect neutral color. All right, and so this is on the inside then. So again, you're kind of leaving that little 1/4 inch border. So you can see that pretty peacock cardstock around it. And then our flower, I think just to add a little bit of color, I'm just going to take my petal pink and one of our small blending brushes. And instead of stamping at full strength, I'm just going to, we'll see what this looks like. I may stamp it on a piece of scratch paper just to see first. And I'm just going to kind of tap it on my stamp. Let's see what this looks like before I put it on my flower. Yeah, it's very, very subtle, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of, yeah, it needs to be just one time. Okay, so we're gonna do that. So we're gonna, and I always kind of tap off on my little silicone mat, and then I just kind of, we're just gonna tap, 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 and I'm just kind of going around the edges and the center. We'll give it a little bit of a huff. And then stamp this on top. Well, that was really light this time. I could have done a little bit more. Let's try that again. Okay, now let's try it. That's really subtle. There we go. And again, it's probably, the camera's not going to catch it, but there is just a little bit of that petal pink color just to give it some dimension. All right, and then I'll just take a cloth and wipe down my silicone mat. And then on your blending brushes, you can use rubbing alcohol to kind of clean these. I just have a damp little microfiber towel, and then I just kind of let it dry. All right, so we got that. And then the one last thing, because I'm all about the details on my cards. We're going to take a little gold gel pen, and I'm just going to draw over the center part of the flower here with that gold gel pen. There we go. Just adds a little bit of glimmer to that. And we'll go ahead and glue this on the inside. All right, and that is it. So really, an easy fun fold. Compared to when you look at it first, you're like, what? So anyway, that is the Z Fold Diamond Flip, featuring the Artful Amaryllis and the Seasons of Elegance Designer Series paper and some of our glimmer papers that are in the holiday and online catalog. So anyway, thanks again for watching. This will probably be my last video for this month of November, just because Thanksgiving is coming up this week and I'm going to be out of town. So I want to wish all of you who are stateside a happy Thanksgiving, and thanks again for liking, subscribing, sharing, leaving comments. It really does makes my heart very, very happy. So thanks again, and have a great and creative day. Bye-bye.